yours.
Skeletor! Skeletor is here.
Greetings, Skeletor.
Who said that? Did you say that, you boob? It starts.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to leave my hat on because it's air conditioned in here. And all the heat will go out through the chimney.
That's funny.
For a warm audience.
Oh, nice.
Good one, too.
Yeah. I've been.
There we go.
Good one, too.
Oh, that's good. You got it. Thank you. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, yes.
So Alan, you've been the voice of so many iconic characters over the years, and I think Skeletor's got to be right at the top of that list for sure, right? Because it's a character that's not only kind of transcended Masters of the Universe, but just pop culture in general. It's great.
Biggest surprise to me. You do the job, you go home, you forget about it, and then that's what we have here. Yep.
Before we really start talking about that character, I'd love to know, really, like, at what point did you know that acting is what you wanted to do?
When I was about 10 years old, literally, about 10. Because I grew up with radio, there was no television. And I used to run home to listen to shows that you run home to watch on television. And I loved to imitate movie stars like Bogart and all those people. I had a natural ear for it. As a matter of fact, when I was in college, I was doing a show for KDKA Pittsburgh called Adventures in Research. I was the guest each week, a different scientist. And I remember I was cast as a South African scientist. I had no idea what a South African accent sounded like, but in my imagination, I put together British and Dutch, the Dutch Boers, you know. And years later, I heard that representative from South Africa at the UN, he was copying me. Can you believe it? So I nailed it in my imagination, and that's really what it is. I mean, if I'm shown a cell of Skeletor, and I look at it and I see the bony head, and that's why it went up into here, and then it became nasal. So it's very often I don't think about it too much. It just kind of happens, and I either say that's terrible, or, oh, that's good, you know, we go on from there.
Cool.
That's how that.
And in addition to voice work, I mean, you've been on so many television shows over the years too. You put such a wide range of characters. Do you think having that breadth of experience in live action makes the voice acting easier, or?
Oh, it does, yeah, sure. I mean, I spent years in theater, in the repertory theater in DC, and in the summers I did musical stock. So I have a huge theater background. And so I'm an actor who happens to do voiceovers, you know. And, if I go to a movie, like I'm Vanity Smurf. So I went to see the movie The Smurfs, and I could only take about 10 minutes of that. It was terrible. They cast name actors who have no idea how to act only with their voice. A lot of the movie stars. I love it. It's the big pause. They're supposed to be thinking. I don't think they are. It's the big pause. When you can't pause when you're doing radio or when you're doing voiceovers, come on, move it along. As a matter of fact, when I was doing the Smurfs, Gordon Hunt, that was the direction he kept giving me faster. Because I tended to do Jack Benny and take forever. Faster. So it's just acting. That's all it is. But you do it from here to here, and sometimes you use your body in order to emphasize what you're doing. Oh, I'm sorry. This says, did you just fall? A sudden move, are you all right? If you don't answer, they call 911. I'm okay. All right. Goddamn
So, Alan, when did you really break into voice acting? Were you doing it in tandem with live action stuff all along, or was there a big turning point where?
Yes, jealousy. Jealousy. I came out to California. I was on the tour with 3 plays in repertory, and we closed in Hollywood. And I stayed on because I got an agent immediately, and I began doing Hogan's Heroes and I Spy and all this stuff. And I was working every week on camera in movies and television. And I had a commercial agent. I was doing voiceovers for commercial announcers and all that. And I think I caught wind of another actor who was doing these things called cartoons. And so I said to my agent, gee, I sure would like to do that. He said, okay, well, I'll submit you. And then he sent me up to Hanna-Barbera, and I met Joe Barbera for this cartoon. And we talked a little. He said, well, this is a part of a talking dog. Can you do that?
Yeah.
I said, good, you start tomorrow. So on the way home, I watched my two. Is this what you do for a living? And that started. I did a lot of stuff for Joe Barbera. I did the Smurfs. I did Scooby-Doo on Scooby-Doo. I did a lot of stuff for him. And then I was sent up to audition for Filmation for this new show called Mer-Man, Masters of the Universe. And I auditioned for Skeletor, and on the next day, or a day or 2 later, said, okay, he's got it. So when I went in to record, he said, oh, can you also do this character called Mer-Man? I said, well, what is he? Oh, well, he's in water. I said, yeah, sure, I can do that for him, just don't put the water.
Oh.
And oh, there's a character called Cringer. I said, well, I can do that too. And Man-at-Arms, I just used my own voice. So I did 4 voices, and then there'd be a guest on there, something like a Can You Do Beast Man or something like that, you know. And so I created a voice like that. And most of them, my first guess, they accepted, and it was taken and used and brought back sometimes. Yep.
So Alan, when you go in to read for a character like Skeletor,
Yeah.
how much are you given to draw from? I mean, they give you like a visual representation of that, and
Let me have
yeah.
it. Yeah. See, that's what they show me.
Oh.
They show me this. It's on a cell. You know what a cell is? Okay, CEO.
Yes.
And that's all I saw. But I saw the bony head. That's why I went nasal on them. The voice came later. I mean, the laugh came later. I have no idea why I did that. But, I tend to look for comedy when there's drama, and drama when there's comedy. So, I guess I'm a contrarian. Anyway, I put in, and that caught on. My wife and I were taking a trip to South America, and we were in Santiago, Chile, and we had a car and driver and so forth, and a guide. And she said, well, my wife speaks Spanish too, because she was raised in Santiago. So the guide said, what's your profession? I said, oh, I'm an actor. The driver says, in Spanish, you know, what does he do? She says, he's an actor. He says, well, what movies have I seen him in? So she asked me, and I reel off a bunch of movies I'm in, and she translates it into Spanish, and obviously there was no connection in his mind. So I said to him, did you ever watch cartoons? And he went, so I went, whoa, into the curve. Believe it or not, the same damn thing happened a week later in Buenos Aires. Same question, whoa, different curve. It's an iconic character, an iconic laugh known all over the world. just by accident, I guess.
When was the first moment that you realized just kind of how iconic and big Skeletor was?
When I began doing these conventions, I had no idea. Do the job, get paid to go home, I'll see you next week. And 30 years later, all of these Comic-Cons come about, and I go to one, and the first thing you know, I'm going, yeah, what did I do? 12 or 13 last year? That's right.
Wow.
You're turning them down at this point, actually.
Wow.
Now, I know, I've got this one, and then I've got Anaheim in July, and New York, the end of June, New Jersey, and Tampa, and Indianapolis, and something maybe in Seattle, yeah. So it just grows and grows, and
Thank you.
sometimes I have to turn them down because I can't travel and come home for 5 days and go off again. It takes me 2 days to recover from a trip. See, I'm an old person, I have to nap.
When you're voicing a character like Skeletor, who obviously is the villain in Masters of the Universe, but you're able to insert so much fun into him as well. Like, what's the thought process behind creating the right balance for kids, where you've got a villain that's credible, but is still not too scary?
I try not to be too scary, I try not to be too evil, I try not to be too dramatic. I just think that's corny as hell. So I look for something,
Absolutely.
and I can usually find it. I did, it's on video of Henry IV, and I was the king being led to the tower. I hadn't seen it in 40 years, and I got a hold of the VHS and looked at it. I'm being led to my death, and I am so charming and good-natured. I said, where the hell did you come up with that idea? Because it's brilliant. It isn't, oh my God, I'm going to be dead. No, it's like, oh, hi, fellas. Yeah, we're going to take a little walk. Isn't that nice? I don't know where it comes from, but I try not to take life too seriously. If I did, I wouldn't be sitting here right now, I'll tell you that.
And at the same time you were doing Masters of the Universe, kind of towards the end of the show, they also did a live-action Masters of the Universe movie. At the
We have
same
to talk
time.
about that. See, I can make me scared. No, I don't think that was very good. Next question.
Well, let's open it up to our crowd. Who's got questions for Alan? Right here.
You did some voices for Neverending Story, Falcor, but did you also do Morla the Agent one?
The which one?
The giant turtle, Morla the Agent one?
No.
No, but interesting, Falcor. Wolfgang Peterson came to LA and I read for the part. Again, he showed me the picture of the luck dragon and told me what his function was in the movie. And immediately I went into the voices I used for the luck dragon. He said, that's fine. We'll have you in Munich and then we could do it. Now they'd already filmed it, you understand. And they had somebody doing the scratch track. So if there were lines like, can you reach behind my ear and scratch a little bit, feel so good. They had the puppet's voice doing this. All I had to do was loop, ADR, if you all know what that is, it's putting the voice through.
Yeah.
So all I had to do was just do this and say, for instance, when the trio comes, I said, leaving so soon. Well, all I saw was, so I did it, the whole thing. And Wolfgang said, oh, that's fine, very good, thank you. I said, can I have a playback? He said, yes. I said, that's not right, I want to do it again. All right, we come back tomorrow, we do it again. Well, that's the version that you see. The difference is the first one was technically correct without heart.
Oh.
The second day, that's the Falcor that you see.
Cool.
The first time I probably said, leaving so soon, leaving so soon. So that's the difference, and that's why you need an actor, not just some movie star who says the words.
It's great.
Now, I want to just continue with this. So I'm finished. He said, thank you. And I start to walk. He says, oh, there's another voice if you would look at it. It's called the rock biter. So I saw this rock biter. And I said, oh, I can do that. So that's when I came out. This is good. Oh, I'm going to use ham. The rock biter. Thank you. Oh, Liz, can you do Gamork? So I looked at the board. I said, yeah, I can do that. Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, could you do the narrator at the end? I'm almost at the airport, you know. So I did the narrator's summation of the whole movie.
Oh.
So we got 4 for the price of 1, which was not a lot of money either.
Oh.
No, this is my vengeance. It's a
Excellent.
great movie, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is.
And then you did a follow-up years later with Noah Hathaway.
I only did the original movie.
But you did a commercial, I thought, using,
Oh, yes, it was a Spotify, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, yes. That was clever, I thought. It was very clever when he did that. Yeah, he was now an older man sitting on Falcor's back, and I know I did the laugh there the other time. That's a very good commercial. Trying to bring it back, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, my question is, did you like doing the episodes where Skeletor had to deal with Hordak, and they always have him do team-ups?
Skeletor has to do what?
The episodes where Skeletor and Hordak cross over.
Was Hordak George DiCenzo?
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that man. He put me into Helter Skelter. We were friends, and they didn't have anybody to play Aaron Stovitz. They were ready to shoot, and George recommended me for that, and that's how I wound up in Helter Skelter with DiCenzo, and so I put him into this one. Payback. No, I love working with George. Unfortunately, he is not with us anymore.
And Alan, when you guys were recording for Masters of the Universe, was it similar to how you recorded Transformers, where you were all in the room together and doing the voices, or was
No,
it more
because there were only
individualized?
3 of us or 2 of us. John Irwin and I, John played He-Man. He doesn't come to conventions, he's very shy. I said to him one night, well, I don't, I have to do his voice. Well, I don't look like He-Man. I said, no shit, I don't look like Skeletor. I said, they don't expect you to look like He-Man. No. Does Chris Reeves look like Superman? Well, I don't. No, I don't do that. He's just shy.
Oh.
I wish he'd come. The line would be around the block all the way to San Bernardino.
Oh.
No, there'd just be the 2 of us, or if Linda Gary was in it, or Melendi, then the 3 of us would be working together. But sometimes, for whatever reason, I remember there was a period where I was working 2 days in London and come back and do 2 days in LA on the Smurfs and on this. So sometimes I'd have to go in and record by myself. They play me the feed line, so I know how to answer in turn, you know? But most of the time we were together.
do you have a preference between solo recording or ensemble recording?
Oh, always work with the other person if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's acting.
And what was your recording schedule like for Masters of the Universe? Because you guys were doing like 65 episodes a year,
Yeah, we
right?
had like 130 episodes, 1 or 2 a week. We do a cold read of it and then record it. And most of the time, we never had to do pickups. I mean, we were pretty much right on, you know? And then, of course, it goes to the animators and they draw. Based on the energy that we put into the line and the formation of the words, you know? Very good. Tom Cook was one of our animators, and some of you may even have artwork that Tom has done. He did a lot of different cartoons.
Cool.
Right here?
Oh, hi. What was it like working with pretty much like Lou Schimmer, as well as the voice actor of He-Man and the rest of the ensemble for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe? what I was trying to say, when you worked on He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, you basically, I felt like you put a lot of energy and you had a lot of fun with the other actors. What was it like working with the voice actor for He-Man and like the other voice actors?
That's what I'm talking about. That's why we acted off of each other. We had a good time.
Oh.
And sometimes we broke up and laughed and we had to do it again. Oh yeah, well, I did Mama's Family with Betty White. We barely got through it. We laughed so much. It's a great thing. I did 3 or 4 Get Smarts, and there was a very interesting thing that happened in one episode where I was an Israeli agent 498. When he arrived, he had to call his mother to let him know he arrived safely. So there was a line in it where the second act was 3 or 4 of us dressed up like Arabs and saying, "The real Abba Ben Booby, stand up." You know. Well, I ran with that in rehearsal. I laughed. I said, "Well, it was a game show. Will the real? What's your name? What's your name?"
Me? Yes, Jonathan.
Don.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yeah, will the real Don stand up, please?
Cool.
It was a guest show, a panel show. So I ran with that line, and Don Adams says, hold it, just a minute. And they went upstairs and rewrote the entire second act for a payoff to, my name is Abba Ben Booby. My name is Abba Ben Booby. My name is Abba Ben Booby. Rewrote it. They don't do that anymore. They're in a hurry to get it done. Time is money. If they had their way, they would have had it yesterday.
Gotcha.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, I get a lot of enjoyment watching all the different collections of the Skeletor insults. You can find them on YouTube.
Can you speak up a little?
Okay. Now on YouTube, there's a big collection of all of the Skeletor insults. Yeah,
Do
and
I
so
have a collection?
There's a YouTube clip of all the big famous Skeletor insults, like edited together into like a supercut. It's pretty amazing.
it's a lot of fun. I get a lot of enjoyment out of that. And I was wondering if when you guys were in the room together, if you guys ever came up with your own that actually made it onto.
Well, I'm trying to find them because I put them on here just in case somebody like you would ask. I'm not wasting your time by trying to find it. I remember a couple of them, yes. You royal boob. Or, I could write a book about what you don't know. And if you can remember any of them, give them to me and I'll read them for you. Huh?
I was wondering if you guys came up with your own.
Yes. Lou Scheimer said to us one time, why don't you ad-lib a few insults and see?
Yeah.
Well, 95% of them were on the cutting room floor. They were so filthy. He couldn't use them. So maybe 3 or 4 made it. Well, we sure had a good time laughing about it. Don't ever give me that kind of freedom, you know? I'll kill your show in an instant.
That's great. Who else? Right here.
This could be a silly question, but
Louder, please.
this could be a silly question, but have you played video game before?
I did video games when they first came out many years ago. I don't know, maybe half a dozen or something like that. But then I decided I didn't want to do it anymore because it strained my voice. All that stuff. I didn't want to do that anymore. So I said to my agent, I won't do it unless they're ready to pay me. She said, never get it. I said, good. And I haven't done it.
Anybody else?
I love that you have a Shakespeare background because I love Shakespeare. Love it. Anyway, how do I put this? So, to me, and in my studies and stuff, it's kind of like Shakespeare. His storytelling, the way he told stories, has kind of, you can't point at a character and not be able to take it back to Shakespeare. Do you feel the same way, or the storylines, or anything? I mean, I'm just curious.
That would relate to something Shakespeare wrote?
Yeah.
I think everything that's written today, you'll find some connection to Shakespeare. He universal of the human condition. Greed, love, I don't care what it is. Romeo and Juliet, Merchant of Venice, Richard III. It's what you're seeing now.
Cool.
Absolutely. The names of the characters have been changed to protect the innocent. Well, there is no innocent.
Well, and Alan, just kind of talking about those sort of universal qualities with characters, when you're looking at Skeletor, what's that point of relatability that you find for him?
I think of Juliet immediately. No, I don't relate at the time to anything else I've ever seen. I tried, not, I tried to get it right from what I'm seeing there, not from, except when I copy myself, you know. Like I stole Skeletor to do Ming the Merciless. Yeah, but if you plagiarize yourself, what am I going to do, sue myself? Most of the time I try to figure something or take it and bend it a little. I did the Sheriff Scuzz in one. Yeah, cigar in his mouth. You know, he's gonna talk like that all the time. As a matter of fact, Warpath, I lifted from George C. Scott because I'd worked with him in the Hindenburg, and boy, did I love that man. So that's all I did. The Warpath was just do George C. Scott. Wham, bam! Yes, sir.
Of everything you've performed, what would you consider your finest performance in animation and in live action? A role that says, this
I
is
leave
me.
that to you, sir. I leave that to you to make that choice and decision. I'll tell you some that I thought were terrible, then I looked at them years later and I said, gee, that's pretty good. I was flying back east. My wife and I are on a plane, and they're showing the movie with Richard Pryor called Moving. And I said to her, boy, did I overact in this thing. God, terrible. Now we're at 30,000 feet, I can't walk out. Well, I watched it, and time heals all wounds. I thought I was pretty funny when I said 30,000 feet. If I'd seen it the week after, I would have said, oh, this is embarrassing, overdone.
I've met a lot of voiceover actors and actors in general, and I kind of feel like that feeling right there, where it's like, you do your best, you leave your heart on the floor, but you leave, if you leave and you're not questioning, and you're like, oh yeah, I did a fucking hell of a job.
Oh, careful.
You know, hell of a job. that you're no longer, that you kind of lost that creativity. And it's like, because like somebody like Steve Lee, he's always like, oh, I wish I could go back and do Cowboy Bebop. He's like, because I feel like I could do it so much better now that I'm a better. You know what I mean? Like, but there are actors who I feel like have kind of hit the ceiling, so to speak, and they're like, oh no, everything I do is perfect, and they never question
I don't know,
it.
nor do I care to know those people. No, anybody who thinks, oh, I'm perfect in what I've done. Well, that's what Vanity Smith would say. Oh. No, I think any creative person has doubts afterwards. Architects, thank God surgeons can't have a second job. I think if you're a creative person, you look at it, well, that's the beauty, I suppose, of oil painting. You can go over it again before it winds up in somebody else's hands. But writing, oh boy. The more you read it, if you let time go, you say, oh, no, I've got to edit that, I've got to change that, yes. And I've done lots of acting, and I thought, this is terrible, but we're moving on, you know? And then I get to look at it a little later, and I said, it's pretty good, it's pretty good. But I never thought, oh, I couldn't do it better. Oh, that's, no. You're kidding yourself, you do that.
Cool.
What advice would you give to actors currently in the business? For instance, June Ray always recommended they to the audition, or rather the recording session, an hour beforehand. So do you have any advice for actors along those lines?
What did you say about the recording session before?
You've always had a session an hour beforehand. That was her advice. I was wondering what your advice would be to
Who said
actors.
this?
June Foray.
She said,
She said
Recording session before the recording?
She said
Show up like an hour
An
early.
hour
Oh, hour early.
For a session.
Yes,
Well, that's her own
right.
sense of getting into. Barbara Stanwyck always would appear, even if she wasn't shooting that day, to get the flow of what was going on. I think I always arrived at the theater at least 2 hours ahead of time before even the overture started. It's a matter of settling into the locale. Leave whatever you had on the street outside. June Foray was brilliant.
But what advice would you give? That was her advice. What's your advice?
You have to find your own. You have to find your own. Some people are quite fine just showing up 2 minutes before or 2 minutes after. I'd rather be there ahead of time, get the feel of the place, the smell of the place, talk to another actor who's showing up early too. Not kidding around, just kind of, That's right for me, right for June. Some people just show up and do it.
Alan, what's your process like? What's your process like preparing for a recording session? Once you got the script and the material and you can go in, what steps do you go through to get ready?
Well, rarely, especially on a series, you never get the script ahead of time. You come into the studio and they hand you the script, everybody, and go through it like this. Oh, there's a laugh. Oh, there's a laugh. We don't really know until we start reading it, and sometimes we stop and say, oh, let me go back on that. Let me go back. This is rehearsal. We don't get the script ahead of time for a show. If it's a movie or a television live show, you get to work on it at home. And you learn it before you get to the studio, because they don't have time for rehearsal while you're learning it. So I remember one of the first things I did was I Spy. I played a Russian. I had 2 pages of solid dialogue. And I did it in 1 take. So the crew all applauded. So, boy, they really know good acting. No, they were glad they were going to get out of there early.
Hi. So, yeah, my name is Jonathan Patterson, and I'm very thankful I got to meet you today, Alan, because my teacher, Colleen Hines, actually, who works at Crafton Hills, which I also go to school at, got me into the He-Man series, and that's why I, pretty much bought stuff for you to sign later on today, because I really love